In the name of Allah, the Most Beneficent, the Most Merciful. May Allah's peace and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad, his family, and all his companions. Imam Al-Qurtubi, may Allah have mercy upon him, said, "The eye is the biggest door leading to the heart, and because of that, a lot of people have fallen from that side. Hence, it is necessary to be cautious of it and to lower the gaze from all forbidden things." And this is true. The biggest gate that leads to the heart is the gate of the eye, the sight. So whoever guards that gate will protect the most precious jewel he has ever possessed, at which looks the Lord, namely the heart. Abu Hurairah reported Allah's Messenger, may Allah's peace and blessing be upon him, as saying, "Verily Allah does not look to your faces and your wealth, but He looks to your heart and your deeds." Brother and sisters, I swear by Allah, there is no one ever has tried to lower his gaze and continued to do that without seeing wonders. And whoever finds that never returns to look at a woman's beauty. It was narrated that Moses, peace upon him, said in his supplication to Allah, "O Lord, I am surprised that those who find you then turn away from you." Allah Almighty said, "O Moses, he who finds me never turns away from me, but people only turn away from the right path," meaning those who have deviated from the path of guidance didn't reach Allah at all. Rather, they returned while they were still in the middle of the path. They hastened. They didn't have patience. But it is impossible for the one who truly feels the divine love and reaches a high level of closeness to Allah to turn away, unless Allah wishes. It is impossible for the one who has seen the great light to go back to darkness. What is the benefit of lowering the eyesight in this world? What can I personally benefit from this in this worldly life before the hereafter? The first benefit you can experience in your life is the sweetness of faith and the strong feeling of closeness to Allah. And then if you continue in doing so, the Most Beneficent will grant you a heart softened to His remembrance and the delight of crying out of fear of Allah, which is a heavenly delight with which a man enters the kingdom of heaven. And as it was said, he who lowers his gaze easily shed tears in fear of Allah, and if he continues, the eye of insight, namely the eye of the heart, will be opened for him, with miracles happen to him, and signs will come informing him of Allah's love for him and His nearness to him. Then his supplication will be accepted, and if he reach such a degree of relationship with Allah and this degree of happiness, it will be impossible for him to prefer the delight of this low life over this heavenly sacred elevation and this angelic realm. And this is one of the greatest rewards with which Allah rewards His believing servant, as he who leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will reward him with something better in return. What is the proof of this? The Prophet, peace upon him, said, "If any Muslim happens to look at a woman's beauty and then lowers his eyes, God will produce for him an act of worship whose sweetness he will experience." As in the sacred hadith which was narrated by Al-Hakim, and at Tabarani, it was narrated that the Prophet, peace upon him, narrated about his Lord the Almighty that he says, "The glance is a poison arrow of Satan. Whoever lowers his eye in fear of me, I will grant him a refreshing sweetness which he will find in his heart in return." And Mujahid said, "Lowering the gaze from looking at what Allah has forbidden brings about the love of Allah." One of the righteous said, "The more often Muslim lowers his eyes from looking at the forbidden thing, the more he will increase in faith, and his heart will be expanded with light until this light covers his limbs and makes him cry out of fear of Allah and brings him inner peace and tranquility as he begins to realize the majesty of Allah. Then he will even be more eager to guard his eyes and consequently his heart filling it with none but Allah." Then his eyes will see nothing, and his ears will hear nothing but what pleases Allah, and then he will feel the sweetness of closeness to and love for Allah, as it was narrated in the sacred hadith. And when I love him, I am hearing with which he hears, and his sight with which he sees. A lot of sayings and experiences have clearly demonstrated that lowering the eye brings about light in the heart. In Surat An-Nur, immediately after the command to believers to lower gaze, Allah said, Allah is the light of heavens and earth. Ibn al-Qayyim said about lowering the gaze, it brings light in the heart, just as letting the gaze brings darkness to it. That's why Allah mentioned a verse of light immediately after the command to lower gazes. He said, tell the believing men to reduce of their vision and guard their private parts. And following this he said, Allah is the light of heavens and earth. The example of his light is like a niche within which is a lamp, meaning the likeness of his light in the heart of his believing servant who obeys his commands and avoid his prohibitions. And if the heart is enlightened, then blessing will come to it from all sides, and if the heart is darkened, then calamities and evil will come to it from all sides. And if this light is lost, then one will be left like the blind stumbling in darkness. What the virtues of lowering the gaze in the hereafter al-akhirah? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, guarantee 6 things for me, and I will guarantee you paradise, and mentioned among them, protect your private parts from engaging in forbidden acts, and lower gaze. Lowering the gaze is one of the most important reasons to enter paradise. As Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reported the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, every eye shall cry on the day of judgment, except for an eye which lowers its gaze from what Allah has made forbidden, and an eye which stayed awake guarding for the sake of Allah. Among the beautiful benefits that struck me, some scholars said, the good believer who has been lowering his gaze, refraining from what is forbidden in this world, this pure slave will deserve a woman like him concerning this quality paradise, such al-Huraliyin, who Allah Almighty described as those restraining their glances as the believer restrains his glance from what is forbidden. He will deserve to have such a houri. A houri is a woman whose eyes are lined with kohl, beautiful and bright, who will also restrain her glance, desiring no man except her husband in paradise. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said about the houri, and if a woman among the women inhabiting paradise were to appear to the people of the earth, then she would illuminate what is between the heavens and the earth, and a pleasant scent would fill up what is between them, and the scarf on her head is better than the world and what is in it. Everyone will be rewarded according to his deeds, and birds of a feather flock together. Good men are for good women. Are there any young men who never look to what is forbidden? It is wrong to judge people according to your standards, as you, for example, tried once or twice and couldn't lower your gaze from what is forbidden. You think that all other people couldn't do it. The truth, brothers and sisters, which no one can deny, is that many young men truly repented and adhered to this until they reached the divine love. Then Allah has protected them from being tainted even by a single forbidden glance, and years passed by without even falling for a single forbidding look. And this is the blessing of Allah, which He grants to whom He wills, to those who He has chosen to be close to Him, whom He is purifying and picked to be in His presence, the allies of Allah, whom no fears nor grief shall reach them. As it was mentioned in the sacred hadith, and when I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, and his sight with which he sees. And whom Allah guards his eyes will never fail for what is forbidden. We ask Almighty Allah for his blessings and generosity. The cure for looking to what is forbidden. Briefly, the cure is to turn your eyes away You are not required to carry a heavy load that bends your back or beats you down. It is a very simple thing. Turn the eye away. Just turn your eyes away from what is forbidden. And this is the advice of the Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. If you were to come and sit down in front of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and ask for advice, he would advise you to do so. One of the companions asked the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, about the accidental glance. Jabir bin Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated, I asked the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, about the unintentional glance, so he ordered me that I divert my sight. Shortly, divert your sight, that is it. And there's another advice from the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to Ali ibn Abi Talib saying, do not give a second look, Ali, for while you are not to blame for the first, you have no right to the second. Thus, the first, most important cure is the advice of Allah to us. Tell the believer men to lower their gaze from looking to forbidden things. Brothers and sisters, lowering the gaze doesn't mean walking with my eyes closed and hitting a wall as a result. No, lowering the gaze means not staring or looking for a long time at a beautiful and attractive woman. This also applies for women. They shouldn't stare for a long time to an attractive young man. Lowering the gaze doesn't mean being extremist, antisocial. The proof is that the prophets had been walking about in markets and eating food. The believer is a normal person, but he is decent and civilized, enjoys life without looking at each woman passes in the streets. And in the end, I say, if you stop looking at what is forbidden while you can look and no one sees you, you leave it out of the love for Allah, seeking His closeness and His pleasure, Allah will grant you an unimaginable delight in return, a delight that no tongue can describe. It is the delight of the divine love, the delight of being close to the light of the heavens and the earth, Allah Almighty. He who tastes this will know, and who knows will feel and experience. There is a paradise in this world, and whoever doesn't enter it now will not enter the paradise of the hereafter. And as it was said, a heart that is purifying will be soft, and when it is soft, it will be polished, and when it is polished clean, it will taste, and when it tastes, it will be awakened, and when it is awakened, it will feel longing, and when it feels longing, it will strive, and when it strives, then the breeze of paradise will blow upon it. It will feel joy with obedience and become the happiest one among people. O Allah, the Almighty, make us among your best servants. O Allah, controller of the hearts, make my heart steadfast on your religion. O Allah, don't divert our hearts after guiding us, and grant us from you a mercy as you are the giver. O Allah, purify our eyes and sight. O Allah, enlighten our insight. O Allah, make us of your close allies and make us among the pure, chosen ones, by being close to you. Sharing an Islamic video may be the best thing you do today. The Prophet, may Allah's peace and blessing be upon him, said, whoever guides to something good gets the same reward as the doer of the good. So act upon what you've just learned and share this video so you benefit even when you're in your grave.